Hey everybody, Pat down here at Glory Guns again, bringing you your Second Amendment news and updates. The Bruin decision, we talked about that a lot this year, and that was the really big decision this year that really set a lot of precedent for Second Amendment cases being heard moving forward, and that really did do a lot. We've had about 5 or 6 really big wins, I think it's 6, since that decision. That itself being huge. And then we had just last week the West Virginia case that we spoke about in the last video, with the obliterated serial numbers being no historical context for that. So that was interesting in that particular case. We've had 2 assault weapon bans being ruled unconstitutional in Colorado, where cities tried to enact their own assault weapon bans and they got struck down. What else is going on? It's been a lot. I can't think of the other ones right off the top of my head. They'll probably come to me in a minute. But the big one that's going on right now, and it's just something else that we spoke about earlier this year in the first video, and I said, when we talked about, there was the Bruin case, but then there was another case against the EPA, if you remember me speaking about that, and that was the big one that we said was going to have big implications moving forward with gun laws and the ATF in general. So the government ruled, the Supreme Court ruled against the EPA in the battle that they had going on. I don't remember the case, but it was where the EPA had been weaponized during the Obama years, and they had used regulations to cripple the coal industry and shut it down, basically cost them enough financially that they had to close down. Well, that's been, if you don't live in a coal area, if you live on one of the coasts, you don't see this. But when you live in Kentucky, and, Western Kentucky, we have coal. We have quite a bit north of here, Madisonville area, all that area. It was always coal land. People always up were working the coal mines. Mr. Peabody flipped Muhlenberg County over there upside down at least 3 times. And, and then Eastern Kentucky was devastated by it. There was, underground coal mining over there, strip mining, and then West Virginia as well, big coal producing areas. Well, not a lot of other commerce goes on in those particular areas. And when you pull that out of there, that really, really hurt our economies in those areas. It sparked the opioid crisis over there. When you take economic power away from people, you really lose hope and depression. And that's when drugs and crime move in. When people have no hope, that's when things really go downhill. So there's a lot more reverberations for that ruling than these people realize, or if they do realize, they're doing it intentionally, and it's just pure evil. But basically, the Supreme Court came down and said that you cannot make laws that cause, I think it was the question doctrine, where it causes a lot of financial harm. You just can't make a law and cause a lot of financial harm. And that's what they did. So they got smacked down for that. Now the damage is done in the coal industry. But moving forward, that's huge for other government regulatory agencies, such as the ATF. So now, fast forward to the bump stocks. Now, everybody gave Trump a bunch of crap because he didn't step in and say bump stocks, but I figured there was something strategic to that, because all the moves that he made, when you look at that one on the surface, it didn't really make sense, but he left that one alone. And it was because the case that was moving forward wasn't necessarily about the bump stocks themselves and their legality. We can debate that back and forth all day long. What this case is about is how the ATF came in, made a rule overnight with a stroke of a pen. They outlawed the bump stocks and anybody that had them to be a criminal. So you had 2 options. You could either destroy them or turn them over to the ATF. Now, no one was offered any compensation for this. And so if you bought one individually, bump stock, whatever it costs, you're not out a lot individually, but you add that up across as many that were sold, and that's a considerable sum of money that the government costs these people. And then, not only that, the manufacturer of them, they had to destroy all their inventory and they weren't given any compensation for what they had been given. Now, these things, I think, had been through 4 regulatory reviews prior to this, and they had always been deemed legal, and then now all of a sudden they're deemed illegal. And so they allowed this case to go through. Now it's at the Supreme Court. It looks like it's probably going to be heard. Now, if this happens, this is where we come in with the EPA ruling. This right here could absolutely tie the hands of them being able to create all these rules and push it all the way back to Congress, where if they want to outlaw something like this, they're going to have to pass it through Congress. Well, then it's a lot more difficult to do. And they know that. That's why they try and end around these things and hoodwink people and just get them to accept it the way it is. But with these rulings that we've had, the Bruin ruling and this EPA ruling, now there is context for the courts to rule in the plaintiff's favor. And if they do, now not only will the bump stop be legal again, which who cares, I thought they were stupid anyways, but you should be able to have them. I would much rather have a binary trigger or something like that. But this could destroy the NFA altogether. And so ultimately, I think that's where all of these rulings are heading. It's going to challenge the NFA. I mean, one of the Supreme Court justices, older one, that was involved in that, he said if the NFA ever got challenged on a constitutional basis, that it would fail and it would go away. So that would bring suppressors off tax stamps, short barrel rifles, pistol brace, whatever. It's ridiculous that these guns are illegal or deemed any more different or dangerous than any others. It's just foolish. It's just, but here we go. So this is good stuff coming up. We'll watch this one and see how it goes. And yeah, it's a good time to be a Second Amendment advocate. Good time to be in the gun industry or be a gun enthusiast. So please get out there, vote this year. Elections coming up, midterms, big time this year. And then, yeah, like I said, always like, share, and subscribe for more internet news. And as always, we are sponsored by gloryguns.com. Local business, thousands of guns. Come by and check us out. We'll see you soon.